Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking trailer lights, a constant headache, especially for boat trailers that get dunked in the water again and again. The parts are cheap, but shop repairs can be costly. In this video, I'm troubleshooting a problem where everything works except the passenger side tail lights and wheel auxiliary. I'll show you how to use a multimeter to rule out potential causes and share tips for threading new wiring through your trailer. Let's get into it. So this multimeter I just picked up for I think about $6. It's real cheap, but works just fine for what I'm doing. So if you're talking about resistance and looking at proper ground, you're gonna be wanting to pay attention to the ohms. So this is ohms, your resistance. So I can go all the way down to 200. So for instance here, if I check one bolt to another bolt on the trailer, I should get a resistance reading of just about 0. It might show up like 1 to 5, but it should be very low. That shows pretty good continuity through the trailer. So the other thing I'm going to be testing is voltage. So when I'm doing that, I want to go to DC voltage. So I'm going to turn this all the way down to 20 because I'm going to be looking for 12 volts. All right, so right now I've disconnected the wire that's coming through the tongue to the wire that goes through the trailer to the back where the tail light is not working. So the brown wire here is for the tail lights and the auxiliary side lights. The green is for the right brake light and turn signal. So I've got Eliana in the truck. I've got this set to voltage. I'm going to have her hit the brakes, and I'll show you the reading that this will give. So I have one probe on the contact and another probe over here on the trailer just to give a reading. So she's pushing the brake in. You can see the reading is just about 12 volts. So that means I've got good power coming to here. And we're back down to 0. So I know I've got good power coming in through the brake lights, which makes sense because that's working in the back. All right, so now we're going to test whether or not at this connection we've got power to the brown wire, which would be our tail light. There we go. So we do have power here. So that's close to 12. And we're on. All right, so I know at least to this contact, I've got good power coming to both the green and the brown wire. So that rules out any connection at the truck. And we just have to look downstream. All right, so now we're looking at the back of the trailer. This is where all the wiring comes out. The bottom of the trailer plugs into the light here. And so similar to what I was showing in the front, I checked all these ground wires. I made sure I've got good continuity between the ground wire and the trailer frame because grounding can be a serious problem with lights. And what's a little confusing between normal wiring and trailer wiring is your ground wire is basically your negative. So you've got a green wire coming in with the power. You've got a white wire, which is your negative, bringing that power back. So if you don't have that power linked to the trailer, which then is grounded at the front by the tongue, heading back to the negative terminal of the battery in the truck, then you won't have any power flowing through. So here you can see I've got one probe on the ground, and then with my right hand, I've got a probe on the trailer. So we've got good ground from this light, so I know that that's not the problem. So the other thing that I've tested is these connections and then this connection. So what's happening here is we've got these two wires, the green and the brown, coming from the front that I tested before. That comes to this plug to provide power to the tail light, but then it's got another third wire that kicks back out and goes to the wheel well for the auxiliary lights. So the auxiliary lights are also out. All right, just to bypass everything in the trailer, I've disconnected this. So I've got just the connection that goes directly to the light. And then I've got this garden wire, which I actually connected to the front where I just tested the power. And I'm going to put it in here to completely bypass everything in the trailer and see if I can get my light to turn on. So I'm going to have Eliana turn the lights on and we'll see if this light turns on. So then I know at least it works. All right, there you have it. So that worked. So now I know the light works. These connections are fine, but somewhere in the trailer I've got a fault. All right, so what I'm actually going to do, so again, this is that wire that's run through the trailer to the back, and then this wire is what goes to the auxiliary here on the tongue. So what I'm going to end up doing is cutting this, and then I'm going to replace it with this new wire. So I'm going to pull this out, grab the new green and brown wire, and I'm going to run it through there by taping it to these wires. While I rip those out, that's going to thread the new lines right through the trailer, and then I'm going to splice them in to the front and the back, and we should be back in business. There. So now when I go in the back and I pull these wires through, I'm going to just pull this whole set of 4. Just the way that this is connected, I need the green and the brown. It doesn't hurt to run another ground wire all the way to the back, so I'm just going to leave that one. And instead of ripping out the yellow wire, which I wish was on the outside here, I'm just going to leave it there. But I don't need it. So I'm going to go to the back, start pulling this through. All right, so now I'm going to start pulling this through. It's got that other cable connected. And there it is. All right, we got it threaded. That made things so much easier taping this onto the old wire. All right, so now that I've had a chance to inspect this wire, I found the problem. So if you can see that, at some point, this wire shorted and melted and burned the brown taillight wire, but kept the green wire intact. So that fully explains why that was not working, and that's where our break is. All right. Now, before I clean this up, I'm going to cover all these with electrical wire. I'm also going to, wrap up these ends to keep them safe in case I need them later. But before I do all that, let's plug it into the truck, see what we got. All right, so now we got the wiring set. Let's see how these lights work. All right, so that's the green wire, so I didn't make any mistakes there. And there's the running light. We got light on the wheel well, front and back, that weren't working before. Everything's working. Well, this trailer light issue has been a problem for me for a while now. I had checked every connection, every ground, power. So for this video, I tried to just keep it short, show you how to use a multimeter so that you can test for your voltage and your ground resistance, and even to bypass a wire. So that can pretty much narrow it down to which connection might be faulty, whether your light bulb is out. So then you know what to fix, because if you take it into a marine mechanic, it's going to take a while for them to diagnose it. Complete new wire harnesses are like $50. So you can completely redo your entire wiring, but that's a big pain. So it's nice if you can try to find the source of the problem. So, ultimately this cost me about $15. So hopefully this video helps you and you can get back out on the water without any problems.